This is a song about working hands. A lover sings of his own true love. A sailor sings of the sea. And what can I be singing of but of my only property? I'll sing the song of my hands. Hear the call of the midnight train echoing down in the mine, the hiss of the steel and the grind of the crane, and the rumble of the assembly line. That is the song of my hands. I'll tell you why of my hands I sing. The kids at home eat what my hands can bring. When towers of steel rose from barren plains, they just see my hands working there. Around us the tractors, the trucks and the cranes, we laid stone upon stone upon stone in the air. And on top of the job were my hands are for sale. What will you give? What will you pay that my family may live? What is the value of my two hands? Appraise them as you've done before. They built your factories, tilled your land, they made you riches, and they'll make more. That is the power of my hands. For my two hands, they might take home pay. They're how much milk at my door, and how many pounds may my children weigh. How did you figure the price before? You tell me the price of my hands. Calculate carefully, ponder it well, and remember this when you do, that my two hands are mine to sell. They made your machines, they can stop them too. That is the power of my hands. For my two hands are mighty hands. They're hard, they're strong, they're free. In all this world, there's no man can buy them in slavery.
Hello everyone, bonjour, Ani, Mayor Brian Bigger here. For 36 years, our community has recognized Annual Workers' Memorial Day in honor of the 4 men who lost their lives underground due to a seismic event that struck the Falconbridge mine in 1984. This loss was not only felt by family and friends, but the pain has and continues to affect our entire community. The devastating effects of this tragedy is a strong reminder of how the impact of a workplace tragedy, injury, or industrial disease is far-reaching, which is why we must always work together to ensure no more preventable tragedies occur. Creating a culture of health and safety truly requires a collaborative effort. Therefore, in honor of all fallen and injured workers, I encourage everyone to come together and do the necessary work so that all workers can return home safely. Especially in COVID-19 response, the health and well-being of our employees has been a top priority and continues to be a leading investment during these times. Now, more than ever, there are so many moving parts to ensure every worker returns home out of harm's way. And thanks to all those from our local unions, employers, and partners like Workplace Safety North, CROSH, and NORCAT, we can ensure a safer workplace tomorrow. Before I read the proclamation, I'd like to thank everyone for taking part in the annual Workers' Memorial Day. I'm proud to renew our commitment to emergency preparedness and to strive to create a culture of health and safety in Greater Sudbury. Thank you, merci, miigwech. And now, I'll read the proclamation. Annual Workers' Memorial Day, June 20th, 2021. Whereas safety in the workplace is of the first order of concern for workers in every occupation, and whereas it is expedient in the interests of both employees and management to be conscious of safe working procedures, and whereas all levels of government, companies, and unions are aware of the importance of safety in the workplace to the health and well-being of all workers. Now, therefore, I, Brian Bigger, Mayor of the City of Greater Sudbury, do hereby proclaim June 20th, 2021 as Workers' Memorial Day in the City of Greater Sudbury, and I urge all citizens to promote and practice safety in the workplace. Dated at Greater Sudbury this 20th day of June 2021.
Hello, Ani, bonjour. I'm Paul Pedersen, the Chief of Police of the Greater Sudbury Police Service. I'd like to start by thanking every one of you for the work that you do every day in our community. I would also like to thank Eric Boulay, Vice President of the Mine, Mill, and Smelter Workers Union, for inviting me to be part of today's virtual service. Although we still can't gather for this year's Workers' Memorial Day, it's extremely important that we remember and honor those who have lost their lives due to workplace incident, illness, or those who have been seriously injured on the job. The COVID-19 pandemic continues to present challenges mentally, emotionally, and economically. It continues to cause a lot of stress and hardship on many. It's also forced many changes in the way we approach our work, the way we do our work, all to ensure your safety as employees and the safety of your loved ones when you go home. Perhaps for the first time ever, workplace health and safety has the potential to come home with employees and infect family members. As Chief of Police, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to all of you for all that you've done, for how you've risen to the challenge during these times of uncertainty, and how you've ensured safety, security, and wellness in this community. Workplace deaths have a devastating impact on our community. The loss of life spans far and it runs deep. Every year on June 20th, we reserve a special day to remember all those who have lost their lives in an industrial accident or due to industrial disease, as well as those who have been seriously injured in the workplace. There is not a single day that goes by that those that we have lost are not in our hearts and on our minds. Statistics don't tell the story of just how many people are directly affected by these workplace tragedies. Each worker's death impacts the loved ones, families, friends, and entire communities they leave behind, changing lives forever. As a leader in an organization, I recognize how invaluable our personnel are and the inherent workplace risk that they face every single day. As leaders, we must do our very best to ensure the safety of our people through proper training, through PPE, through policies and procedures that ensure that you are our very first consideration in all that we do. Without you, there would be no organization. We are simply bricks and mortar. Today, we pause to honor and remember those who have lost their lives. We are thankful for those who are still with us, and we appreciate the moments we have together. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Welcome, everyone. On behalf of Sudbury Mine Mill and Smelter Workers Union Local 598 Unifor, I am honored and humbled to extend to you our appreciation of your viewing of today's event. This is our 37th annual service, and again this year, due to the pandemic of COVID-19, we are doing things a little different. It was on June 20th, 1984, at 10:12 a.m. when a robbery occurred. It registered 3.4 on the Richter scale and sadly took the lives of four of our members: Sulu, Danielle, Wayne, and Richard. Our sincere condolences go to the families. Sudbury remembers. We also honor the heroic efforts by a lot of our mine rescue people and workers and miners that tried to help that day to save them from their tomb. Our sincere condolences also go to the families, not only the families of this tragedy, but also to the families and friends of all the workers who have lost their lives or limbs to industrial accidents or illnesses, while only trying to provide for the need of not only themselves, but of their families. We gather each and every year on June 20th. It is a day of remembrance and also of reflection. However, today it is also a perfect opportunity for us to work together to try to improve the safety and health in all aspects within of all of our workplaces, to prevent workplace fatalities as it affects and reaches everyone's hearts. More than 2 million people worldwide die each year because of workplace accidents. To put this number in perspective, across the world, in 2015, only 197,000 people died in armed conflicts. While these numbers might not be as bad as the 3.5 million people that have died from the current pandemic, it could lead to higher workplace fatalities as workers might not have the right frame of mind on workplace procedures and rules as they think about what they need to do to protect themselves and their families. Statistics really show us the real story. In our world today, as we know, one worker dies every 30 seconds. While some people say it's an improvement over the one worker every 15 seconds, in our view, it is still unacceptable. What we need to do is really work hard at preventing these from happening in the first place. It also means that it could very probably that somebody here within the greater city of Sudbury will die from a workplace, or have somebody, they will know somebody that will die from workplace accidents or illnesses, as work kills more people than wars. On the average in Canada, over 1,000 workers die each and every year due to workplace accidents or related illnesses. In our province, last year, 190 people died due to these same conditions. What these numbers really don't show is the hardship that it gives to people, as it directly affects them. Each worker that really impacts the loved ones, the families, their friends, their co-workers that they all leave behind, changing all of their lives forever. We need to do something about it. We need to be reminded. We need to be educated. And we need to educate our workers, our governments, our families, or even ourselves, because any incidents or accidents is too much. And that the rules are there mainly because someone at some point got hurt or died. So let's work by them and take our time to do what we do best. It is to put in an honest day's work, and so that we can return home safe and healthy to our families and friends with the fruits of our labor, each and every minute of each and every hour of each and every day. Thank you. Let's remember and stay safe.
Hello, bonjour, Ani. My name is France Gélina and I'm the MPP for Nickel-Belt. Je m'appelle France Gélina, je suis la députée de Nickel-Belt. On June 20th, it is always an honor for me to gather with Mine Mill 598, their supporters, their friends, Unifor members from all over, to remember what happened on June 20th, 1984. We gather together on June 20th to remember what happened in 1984, when Sulo Carpela, Richard Chénier, Daniel Lavallée, and Wayne Saint-Michel died following a seismic event at their mine. Unfortunately, they're not the only Unifor members that have died at work. We are in month 15th of a pandemic. The pandemic has been hard on each and every one of us, on every family, on every small business, and on every essential workers. Whether we look at people who work in the mines, in our grocery store, in transportation, or at healthcare workers. Unifor represent many healthcare workers, mostly in long-term care. In long-term care, where close to 14,000 people out of 78,000 got infected by COVID. 4,000 residents died. Most of them died surrounded solely by the hardworking people who work in our long-term care. Same thing, over 7,000 long-term care workers were infected by COVID at work. 10 of them died. One of them, a Unifor member. I can't help but think that this is Ontario. We know how to put PPE on, don and doff PPE. We know what to do. We learned from the SARS as to how to protect workers, how to use the precautionary principle. But none of that mattered. I can't get out of my head the picture of personal support workers having garbage bag over top of their uniform because they could not gain access to PPE. It seems like the owners, the operators of those long-term care homes would rather pay their CEO $4.7 million a year than provide PPE for their workers. I tell those stories because getting together on June 20th is important. We have to learn from what happened in the past. Every single one of those deaths have to lead to change. 100% of healthcare workers who get sick at work is preventable. We have to do better, and this is what getting together on June 20th means. It means that we honor the people who have passed, we learn from those mistakes, and we commit to making things better for every single workers who get up in the morning or in the middle of the night to put in their shift. They deserve to come home safe. Ça me fait toujours plaisir, et je vous dirais avec des émotions un peu mélangées, d'être avec vous de façon virtuelle pour le 20 juin, parce que le 20 juin, c'est une date importante pour qu'on honore tous ceux et celles qui sont morts au travail ou à cause du travail, et pour s'assurer que l'on s'améliore, que l'on rend la sécurité au travail une priorité. I thank you for being here. I thank you for honoring those who have left us. Merci beaucoup. Jimmy Witch.
Hello, bonjour René. My name is Jamie West. I'm the Member of Provincial Parliament for the riding of Sudbury. I want to begin by thanking Mine Mill Unifor Local 598 for inviting me to speak today, because the Workers' Memorial Day is an event that when we were allowed to meet in person, and I look forward to being able to meet in person soon, but I would go every single year. I had it scheduled in my calendar because health and safety, especially in Sudbury, is so important. When you think about the fact that this happened in 1984, that 4 miners died underground in 1984, and we're still talking about it today. It's nearly 40 years later, it's 37 years later, we're still talking about those 4 workers. And the importance of talking about these workers isn't just honoring their families or honoring the work they did or the tragedy that happened. It's something that Mine Mill Unifor Local 598 has taken and evolved to the next stage, where it's not just about their workers, it's not just about mine workers, it's not just about surface plant workers, it's about protecting all workers. You think about something that happened 37 years ago, that many people start their first jobs as teenagers or their early 20s. That means that these 4 miners, their legacy is that workers who weren't even alive when this incident happened are being protected because of the efforts, because of the conversations we have every year as part of the Workers' Memorial Day ceremony at Unifor Local 598. I want to acknowledge Mine Mill for the work they've done in this to keep it alive. This is an event that has always resonated with me because my stepdad Bill is a retiree from Mine Mill Local 598. And he worked in the smelter, not underground, but I know the dangers of working in a smelter because I was a smelter worker. In fact, when I was the worker safety rep at the Coppercliff smelter, we had a fatality as well. And every year in April, I think of Paul Rochette and his legacy. So I know urgently, and I know that management joins me on this, that we don't want to see more injuries, more illnesses, more occupational disease. We need to have more conversations about safety and changing things and expanding beyond underground and mining to smelters, to all workplaces. As a good friend of mine said to me once, I hope to God someone out there is looking out for my kid the way I'm looking out for other people's kids where I work. We need to be united in that and looking out for each other's kids. We need to prevent occupational disease. We need to prevent injury. We need to prevent death in the workplace. And that's something we can always be united on. One final thing I want to talk about when it comes to preventing injury and illness is with this pandemic, there's been a highlighted aspect of what's happening on in healthcare sectors. That industry, long-term care and healthcare, has been under tremendous amount of strain for way, way too long, and COVID has put a huge magnifying glass on it. There's a lot of industries that need to be addressed and fixed, but we need to seize the opportunity with what's happening with long-term care and healthcare. We need to stand by the sides of our long-term care and healthcare workers. We need to fight for them, to protect them from burnout, from injury, from illness. We need to stay united. This is important to me, and I know it's important to you. I've lived in Sudbury my entire life, and I know one thing in Sudbury is that we're united when workers are injured or killed. We are a community that mourns together, and we're a community that is dedicated to ensuring that things like this never happen again. Thank you. Merci. And miigwech.
Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here again to speak at this important memorial event. And I thank Unifor for the opportunity. And I very much look forward to seeing everyone back in person next year. Now, I know if you're listening, you're already passionate about safety. I ask you to please pass on the messages you hear today from the speakers that are all have great safety messages to share. Now, I know this year has been very difficult with COVID pandemic, and it's been incredibly stressful for everyone. Everyone has specific and unique circumstances, both in their personal and professional lives, to manage. I want to thank you very much for the dedication and commitment you've had to ensure that our workplaces remain safe. I just ask you to be vigilant just a little bit longer as we get through this final phase, and encourage everyone to take the opportunity that's been afforded to us to get vaccinated to protect yourself and others. You know, today is really, as a memorial, of primary importance to reflect and remember and respect those that have lost their life on the job. It brings us tremendous sadness to know that that's happened. An incredible pain that it's brought to the families and friends of those individuals that never came home that day. And pain that never goes away, even years later. However, it's not just enough to remember or just to say that it's unacceptable. We all know this. We must take action. And Glencore is taking action through a framework which is necessary to ensure that our workplaces remain fatality-free. And it's through our Safe Work program, our fatality prevention program, here in Sudbury branded Safe Nickel, that we will get there. Now, that program is built up by 9 elements, 2 of which are overreaching over all elements, which are safety leadership and risk management. They're fundamental to underpin our fatality prevention program. The other elements fall within the plan, do, check, act cycle. On planning, it's to ensure that the work is properly planned and prepared, ensure we're set up for success. In the do, or the execution of our work, it's to ensure we're adhering to our fatal hazard protocols. Protocols that are aligned to the hazards that we know have fatal potential in our business. and to adhere to the standards within, to adhere to the life-saving behaviors, and to have a strong operational safety program. In checking, is to have a strong reporting investigation process, to ensure we're getting down to the root cause of all incidents and accidents, and putting in meaningful preventions to ensure that they never happen again. Also important is to have a strong assurance program to verify and validate that the controls that we're relying on are in fact in place and effective each and every minute of each and every day. And finally, in acting, it's to ensure that all the actions from our assurance program or our incident investigation are closed and actioned and embedded into our business. And that we're taking the collective wisdom and experience and knowledge from our entire business and spreading it across. Of course, in Sudbury, we know we're going to come into new challenges and new hazards as we go deeper in the basin. It's very much a focus of ours to use innovation and technology to reduce the risk profile of our business and find new and better ways to do things. Now, my message to everyone, in particular during these stressful times, is to pay particular attention to your fitness for duty, and please use the tools and resources we have there to help. Whether it's to help manage stress or fatigue or nutrition or fitness, there are people to help you in that regard. You might even take part of some of the programs to tackle long-term challenges like our smoking cessation program. Again, they're there to help. But once you're at the work site, it's utmost importance that we ensure that the tasks that we're about to undertake are well planned, that you have all the necessary training and the necessary resources, be it material or equipment, to do the task. And please understand if your task or activity is governed by standards and procedures, that you follow them and understand them. And if there's any uncertainty at any point, that you stop and ask for the required assistance. Of course, in the workplace, it's important to ensure that our workplaces are to standard. Of course, that's what protects us against the hazards. And that hazards are identified and controls are put in place. And it's important to continually reassess that, as the work is dynamic and can change. And it's a complex interaction between people, process, and equipment. I ask everyone to participate robustly in lineups and safety meetings so we get maximal benefit from those exercises, and that we're reporting all incidents and near misses so that we may share and raise awareness to where the hazards are so we can actually act to address them. Also ask everyone to become safety leaders. And you can be a safety leader no matter what role or title you have in the organization. Safety leader means setting the example, setting the tone, not walking past any hazards, but correcting them, coaching and helping others to do the same. And most critically, if something just doesn't feel right, please stop and take a step back. So I'll ask everyone to not wish for a safe day, but make it so. Make it so by taking the necessary actions to make that a reality. And together, we'll work to create and sustain and guarantee a workplace free of fatalities for the years to come. Thank you.
As you are probably aware, June 20th is an important date in my life. It is an opportunity for me to refocus myself when it comes to health and safety and my passion for health and safety. Last year, I talked about a personal tragedy in my life with my father and my father-in-law. This year, I'm going to expand on one of those. The health component in health and safety is often not garner the same kind of reverence or focus as the safety component, because it is usually not evident, visible, or tangible, but it's just as deadly. The adage, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, has never been more clear than it has this past year. And the lack of preparation has everyone literally flying by the seat of their pants. It should be a wake-up call as to just how unprepared your government was and industry was when it came to protecting workers and the public from the health risks of those invisible hazards. The walking wounded, as they're affectionately known in the workplace, are easy to spot because of their ongoing recovery is very visible. And although traumatic injuries and fatalities are on a slow and steady decline, recognized occupational diseases and occupational cancers are on a dramatic rise. Nearly every workplace has a multitude of potential airborne contaminants and suspected and known carcinogens, for which there are currently safe exposure value limits for what is supposed to be a safe level for people to not succumb to long-term effects as a result of exposure. But year over year, based on medical and scientific studies and evidence, those numbers continue to be lowered. They do not speak to synergistic effects, or which are effects when you combine a multitude of different elements. They speak specifically to only one element at a time. Much of the data collected that is being used to lower those numbers comes from recognized WSIB claims and from workers being exposed. We continue to be the guinea pigs for those who follow behind us. And given the length of time it takes for an exposure to manifest itself as an occupational disease or cancer, and establishing a link between exposure, the disease or cancer that is the outcome of that exposure, and the workplace, so that it becomes a recognized claim, is very, very difficult to do. Unrecognized claims and chronic underreporting further skews the numbers when it comes to safe exposure limits. If we are truly committed to attaining zero harm, we need to continue to lobby for change. Collectively, we need to go back to the adage, an ounce of prevention, with a lens on preventing exposure altogether to these invisible hazards, and weigh it against the long-term potential health risks of waiting until the next time we need to fly by the seat of our pants. I'm tired of having to face someone who has or is suffering from an occupational disease and or cancer. I see way too much of it. We need to make a change. We need to stand up and say this is not acceptable. Because it's not. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ron Michaud. I am chairman of Mine Mill Local 598 Retirees. We are here today to honor the 4 miners that we lost in 1984 on this day. They are Sulo Corpola, Richard Chenier, Danielle Lavalle, and Wayne St. Michel. It was on that day at approximately 10:12 a.m. in the morning that a rock burst occurred at the Falconbridge mine. At that time, an evacuation notice was given, and at approximately 2 in the afternoon, the 200 miners that were working were just about all evacuated except for 4. And from then on, it became a recovery act instead of a... So anyways, as you know, the people that were doing the trying to recover them, they had contact with them, voice contact, but then another rock burst occurred and they had to leave. They went back in, but were unfortunately able to save any of them. Also, I want to say that we pay our honor to all the other members also that lost their lives in the industry. and a little bit about COVID that I want to talk about. And the reason why we're doing this here virtually is because of the COVID. In Canada alone, we have 37 million people. In Canada so far, due to the COVID, we've lost over 25,300 people that died to the COVID. So all we're saying is that when you get a chance to get your needle, by all means get it. Because as soon as we all get our second shot, that's the way we're going to be able to return to normality. And one thing about it, when you get your shot, it's not that you can take your mask off right away and go mingle. It takes 2 weeks for it to become effective in you. So please obey by the rules of the science for COVID-19. I want to thank you very kindly for having me here at this time. Thank you.
Hi, it's Jerry Dias. I'm sorry I can't be there with you today, but I'm certainly with you all in spirit. Today's ceremony is the 37th Workers' Memorial Day. And it really is about honoring our four fallen brothers back in 1984, back in the days of Falconbridge. Today is a reminder that so many workers lose their lives each and every year in Canada. That need not be. We need employers to be safer. We need employers to provide proper education and health and safety training. Today is the 37th Workers' Memorial Day ceremony. Today is recognizing and remembering the four fallen brothers back in 1984 when they worked for Falconbridge. But today is a stark reminder that we must work safely each and every day. We must continue to push the employers to fulfill their responsibility by creating safe workplaces. We are not suggesting, we are demanding that workers that go to work in the morning should come home safely and must come home safely to their families at the end of the day. This year has been particularly difficult for Unifor as we have lost 10 members due to COVID-19. I will argue deaths that were completely preventable. So today we remember our four fallen brothers. And today we thank Local 598 of Mine, Mill, and Smelter Workers Union for continuing to keep this tragedy at the forefront of the minds of those in the community of Sudbury. Thank you very much for allowing me to participate today. Please be safe. And please, we can get through this pandemic together. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Eric Boulet. It's an honor today to be speaking to you as the newly elected president of Mine Mill 598. We are here for the 37th annual Workers' Memorial Day event. I'd like to thank all the previous speakers who took the time out of their very busy schedules to record their messages. It truly goes to show how important safety is to our community and our community leaders. Of course, we feel no one should be injured or killed in the workplace, and it has been and always will be our goal to see this happen. As we said prior, education is one of the biggest key components to this. Starting in the schools, we should educate the children before they get into the workforce. It shows a worker that is trained in their rights and knows how to identify hazards will lower fatality and injury rates. But this education must continue beyond schools and throughout the entire career of all workers, as hazards are ever evolving, and we must be able to recognize them. The systems that protect these workers must be transparent and accessible. From the speakers before me, the community clearly agrees with that. These laws made to protect us were mostly created because of us, workers just like me and you. Got the attention of governments and got these laws put in place that are protecting workers today. But it's not enough. We must continue until we don't have injuries in the workplace ever. Mine Mill will always stand up for workers' rights. And I encourage all of you, if you see anything unjust in the workplace, or experience anything, to speak out. Get the assistance of your health and safety committees and stop these injuries and tragedies from happening in the future. We're all much stronger together than we are apart, and this is all something we can unite on. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us for this 37th Annual Workers' Memorial Day virtual event, and we hope to see you all next year here at Richard Lake in person. Thank you, in solidarity.